Thank you, Max. So this is the Town of Waldoboro AD Gray Committee meeting on October 6th, 2020. I am Saran Pine, the chair. Also present are Bruce Metrick, co-chair or sub-chair, whatever you are, vice chair, Freeman Zausner, and Jan Minzy. And then Max Johnstone, who is our town planner and taking care of the minutes. I don't know anyone else in this group. Are you all town? Is anybody else here a citizen of the town?
Yes. Yes.
No. So the five of you are all with
volunteers. So I'll introduce everyone if you want.
Please do.
Yeah. So I'm Brian Seitz. I'm the VP of Business Development at Volunteers of America. Travis Drake is also here. He is the VP of Housing Operations.
So you can get on your call.
No, we need to get going. I'm fine.
As well as Terry Baldwin, who is the COO of Volunteers of America. We also are joined today by our partners at Genesis Fund, Mark Primo and Matthew Peters. Matthew is the individual who did our initial analysis on the AD Gray property. And I'm getting feedback from somebody, so it's hard to...
Stop for a minute, Brian.
I already said it, so it's not on the radio.
Max Johnston.
Yep. That shouldn't be for me.
Hello.
I think it's Bruce's phone.
Oh, Bruce Metrick's phone?
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Okay. Thank you, Bruce.
Yeah, I'll stay muted for most of this.
Okay, thank you. So Brian and Travis and Terry, are you located in Maine?
We are.
We're
all in different locations right now, but Terry and Travis are in Brunswick area, and I'm at my house in my basement, as you can see, in North Dartmouth. I've been relegated to the basement today. So,
okay. Well, I know we have an agenda. I have not, as you may know, have not been present for the last couple of meetings for some reasons. So if I ask you questions that you've already heard, I apologize, but that's just the way it goes. So do we have any adjustments to the agenda?
I just wanted to make quickly, I'm very pleased that I can sit in on part of this. I just was happy to listen in. I just wanted to let folks know that I'm going to have to leave a little bit early. So if I dash out, I'm double booked today. So if I tug out, it's just that I may have to leave early.
So maybe what we should do is
and just one more note, we actually hadn't seen the agenda yet, so we're not too sure what's on.
That's all right, because I think what perhaps we should do is adjust our agenda, and there being no public, no citizens here at the moment. I think we could.
Hold on, Saran, right here at the
what?
office, we actually have Vicky. She's a neighbor of the AD Gray School.
I can't hear a word you're saying.
You can't hear a single word I'm saying?
Nope.
Am I muted?
All right. I think it just
turn it up.
Mask.
The volume, maybe?
No, hold on. Can you hear me now?
Not very well. Is there a volume adjustment?
No, I think what I'll do is we don't mind sort of resetting the meeting. I'm gonna turn off the YouTube thing, have us off the cameras, and just work from the laptop.
Oh,
right. So
whatever you just did is better.
I just did?
Yeah.
I didn't do anything right now.
Okay, well, let's just keep going on what I was saying. I think we should adjust, excuse me, I think we should adjust the agenda so that we have and just look at the items that concern Volunteers of America. And that would be under old business, the milestones. And also under new business, the September 30th discussion. And then I don't know what was I have no idea about the executive session, and I would defer to Bruce and Freeman and Jan with respect to that. So let's start with.
Saran, very quickly, what I was trying to say is that we do actually have someone from the public here. Vicky Bell?
Yes.
Vicky Bell, who is a neighbor of the AD Gray property.
Okay, so Ms. Bell, does she wish to make any comments?
Do you have any,
I do. I have a few questions.
can you hear Vicky?
Yes.
She could speak a little louder.
Yeah, I did have some questions. I don't know if now is the time or if you want to do it later. This is regarding the last 2 or 3 meetings on the AD Gray. I have questions.
I would defer to Bruce and Freeman if you have, and Jan. Do you want to do that this way?
Fine.
Usually citizen comments should be dealt with first. I know that we do have some members of Volunteers of America who are on a time crunch, but if these are quick questions, we can answer it now. But at the same time, we also do have we are going to be talking about public feedback and the September 30th discussion. So I guess it depends if you want to talk now or.
It's up to you guys. I will certainly pare down my questions. Because I did watch the YouTube town meeting and I was on the Zoom on the last meeting. So one of my questions was because I did look at your other facilities and they're not really by other housing. So I have to wonder how many facilities you have that are actually near housing.
I'm sorry, you mean that sit adjacent to housing?
Exactly.
Travis, you want to take that one?
Can you repeat the question?
The question is, because I did look at your facilities by Googling it, and they kind of are not set right next to adjacent to housing. They're either in a commercial district where they have a lot more land and lots of trees, so no one really sees them. So do you have any facilities that are right next to people's houses?
Yeah, quite a few actually are near.
In Maine?
Yeah,
Which ones?
in Saco, That's-
Okay.
residential, Topsom.
And they're within the same distance that you're proposing for AD Gray?
The one in Saco definitely is.
Okay. And what is that for older people or what facility is that?
Yeah, that's one of our senior housing properties. We actually have 2 right in Saco.
Okay, so and on the brochure you gave out at the last meeting, it says seniors starts at 62 in the brochure. So is it 62 that you're proposing? 62 and up? Or is it 55 and up?
Will depend on the financing involved as far as the age requirements.
Okay.
Our current senior housing is 62 and older.
Okay, so senior housing is 62 and over.
What we currently have, yes.
Okay, so what you currently have is 62 and over. So now my other question is, obviously, it's whoever gives you the funding decides what type of facility this is. So there's no guarantee it's going to be for seniors. Am I right in thinking that?
That's not correct at all. We're going after funding specifically for senior housing. This is specifically intended to be a senior housing project.
Okay, so it's 100% guaranteed if this does go through, it's just for seniors.
That is the objective from the outset, yes.
The objective, but it could change depending on the funding.
We are only going after funding that will support the mission of us having affordable senior housing in AD Gray.
Okay, so it could not in the future change in your middle of your proposals to be something different.
Correct. We're not going to change this to market rate workforce housing in the middle of this process.
Okay, now how come I have to ask, why do you want to put so many units in this little, historic street?
A couple reasons. One, because we feel that the region can support that based on the data that we've seen, and two, because 32 units would make this property more sustainable long term.
I mean, because I've seen the other facilities and they're just much bigger. And obviously I'm across the street. So my feeling is traffic, people walking, and also, it's not like there are sidewalks all the way to the grocery store. So that's another concern.
Mm-hmm.
I do have some others. I guess this is more a question for the town of Waldeboro,
Okay.
which is, how is this going to help Waldeboro?
Well, one-
Actually, if I could say something to that question,
Yeah.
and it's to the people at Volunteers of America, this will show why I have not been to the last several meetings. Why did you choose this particular site?
So we're in the process of we are in the midst of a 2-year strategic plan, in which part of our goal was to establish more housing along the Route 1 corridor. Currently, our headquarters is in Brunswick, Maine, and between Brunswick and Thomaston, I think that's the furthest one south. Travis, correct me if I'm wrong. We didn't really have any housing located, so we did a lot of research with and talked to pretty much every town between Brunswick and Thomaston, and when we got to Waldeboro, they, Julie was very kind and suggested we come see the AD Gray School, and we took an initial glance at it and did some analysis and just determined that this would be a really good location for us. Strategically, it fits with our initiatives. It fits with our mission, and it's in with proximity of other facilities where we get some economy of scale in terms of being able to maintain and property manage without any much added overhead.
So what other sites in the corridor did you look at?
We've looked and talked to folks in Rockland, Camden. There haven't been any.
Rockland's north of Thomaston.
I know. Yeah.
What
So
other sites did you look at in the corridor that you just mentioned?
there were really no other sites that we determined were viable at this time.
Mm-hmm. And did you do any studies of the population of Waldeboro as opposed to Damascotta, Thomaston, Wiscasset, in terms of our financial makeup compared to those other towns?
To determine what exactly?
Well, to just get a feeling and an understanding for what's going on in Waldeboro compared to Damascotta or Wiscasset.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't do any formal market studies. We hadn't hired a third-party firm, but and speaking with the town manager and kind of understanding what's going on in the town, is, we have a good. I think we have a good feeling for what the needs are, not only for Waldeboro but the region in general.
Okay. I'm sorry if I interrupted the citizen Virginia. I don't remember your last name. I'm sorry. Max, can you help me there?
Oh,
Her name is Vicky Bell.
Oh, sorry, Vicky. So Vicky, did you have more questions?
I mean, I probably have a more for the town because, I mean, Waldeboro has many already, financially backed housing for residents. Our business is right across from Sproul Block. There's 2 others within like a mile. So I have to wonder, like, how much more does Waldeboro need? And also there's also, many other pieces of land out there. I have a personal interest in this just because I am across the street, but I also have to want Waldeboro to be elevated in some case. And I want this project to add to the town, not add to the services that these people are going to need. Certainly not add to the traffic and that sort of thing. So I'll have probably more questions later on. You guys can go on with your meeting. I'll just listen in.
Well, thank you very much for coming in and saying that. You did mention that you watched the public hearing that was on September 30th. That was available. I guess it was available on YouTube. Is that right, Max?
The very first one was on YouTube, I believe.
The
That-
September. What
that
about the
was-
September 30th?
September 30th meeting, people could watch on Zoom. but
Oh,
it was
yeah,
not
I
available-
zoomed
It
in,
was
yeah.
not available on YouTube.
So was that recorded?
That was
Because-
not recorded because it was not officially held by a committee. And that's the standard we have been following for other meetings in the past.
I was not able to attend or watch it at that time, so I'm sorry I missed it. I don't know if, have we lost Bruce Metric, by the way?
I think Bruce has come back to the meeting. Bruce, you're on the phone?
I don't think so. I don't think we have a quorum at this point.
Yeah, I'm back on.
Oh, you are? Okay, thank you. No, that we're all still here. Does the committee have any thing to discuss about the milestones that we have?
Hold on. So where are we talking about with the agenda? I know you were saying we should adjust the agenda first.
I said that because some of the members of Volunteers of America are under a time crunch, that we should go to whatever addresses their concerns first.
Okay.
So milestones is 5B on the agenda,
Okay.
as
That's fine.
opposed to going over the minutes line by line.
So the minutes, we'll put out, so I assume minutes are going to be after new business.
We can take care of that later. So let's talk about the milestones, or I have no idea what the charter check is.
That was something that Bruce asked to do in an earlier email. Just talk about the scope that the committee has, if I recall correctly, Bruce. Bruce,
I don't- Well,
Was that a question? Was that a question for me?
yes,
Yeah, I didn't hear it. Say it again, please.
Bruce, in an earlier email, I recall you talking about doing a check on the subcommittee's mission. Is that something that,
I think we can do that next time if Dan has to leave. What I wanted to do there was just take the pulse of everybody and make sure they felt we were on track and everybody was engaging. So that was just going to be an informal, we can put that on hold till the next meeting.
okay, let's go on to the milestones then. I looked at these milestones and I think of it as a timeline, a proposed timeline, and it seems quite ambitious to me, or optimistic maybe. I'm not sure, but signing an option to purchase less than a month after the warrant vote, I can't imagine how that could possibly be done. We'd have to have it run by legal, and I would imagine that we would have some things to do a little back and forth on, as often happens in this kind of situation. So that was the first thing that struck me when I saw that. So I don't know what that does to the rest of your schedule. Did any of the rest of the committee members have comments about this the milestone list? Freeman?
I do. My background for historic tax credits only is respect to private companies that are profit making. So I need to be educated on this with respect to nonprofits. Normally, when we did our historic tax credit, while we had an advisor, we never submitted our application until we actually had the construction done and actually had it inspected by SHPO and then National Park Service to make sure that it actually seemed right. Then we submitted. and we never got any payment until after the relevant construction on a building was actually done. So if you could teach me the differences between private and nonprofit, I'd really love to listen to it.
So Matt, do you want to jump in on that one?
Yeah, and I'll actually first, I'll answer the first question around the purchase and sale. So I think that's great feedback. We built out the milestone.
You've broken it, you're frozen.
Or two even. Then in the schedule, it doesn't impact it in a negative way.
This
Am I breaking up?
transmission didn't work. Yeah, you're breaking up. The transmission's not working.
Yeah, Matt, can you just lose the visual, just so we can see if that does anything for you?
Yeah. Okay, that works better. Does that?
Matt, can you turn off your camera? All right, try again.
Okay. So did everyone hear what I was trying to say about the milestone
No, can you repeat that?
piece?
You might want to start from the beginning, Matt.
Okay, so just a quick response about the milestone template. And that's a good draft schedule and feedback around having it take a little bit longer. That is totally an extra month or two there to finalize and negotiate the purchase and sale agreement. Does not negatively impact the schedule to getting the construction completed. Regarding the historic piece, I did have slides. I don't know if those will come up. Okay, let me try to just share. So there's a good question around difference between tax credits for how a nonprofit might use the tax credit program. The nonprofit actually will partner with a for-profit organization that has a tax appetite. And so for the federal tax credit program, we will have an investor partner that can use those tax credits and then be able to bring in equity up front to help build the building. And in the state, historic tax credit is a little bit different. It's a refundable program. So even if you don't have a tax liability, you still can collect those funds. The construction of the building, as the law stands right now, the construction needs to be completed by the end of the year 2023. So that's a good deadline to have out there for now. I do anticipate that this tax credit program will be extended because there's been some recent studies around that it basically pays for itself at the state level. And then Freeman, your question around timeline is a good one. The federal tax incentive program requires several steps. And so the first one in this process is to make sure that the building that you want to do all this work on is actually a building that the Maine Historic Preservation Office and the National Park Service, which oversees the rehabilitation program, agree is worth investing in. And so that's the part one. And so you submit that early on, make sure you get a good determination. If the building is not listed, my understanding is that the AD Gray School is not listed yet, then you take that time to go and actually formally list the building or a district if it's in the district. And then you go through, you do your design development. So figure out what you're working on, what you're going to save, what you're going to have to remove or change in the building. And you compile all that into the Part 2 document. And so that gets submitted a couple months before you start construction. And both the main office and then subsequently the National Park Service office reviews that. And then you go and start your construction, do 10 to 12 months of construction, document everything that you did, and then submit the Part 3, which then once that's approved, that basically the Part 3 just shows that you did what you said you were going to do in the Part 2. And then as of that date, then you can qualify for the tax credit on the income tax return for that subsequent year.
So if I could, so it's really nomenclature. When you say receive historic tax incentive Part 1, you're really just saying that the state agency and National Park Service are saying that you've met the first thresholds, not that you're actually getting any money.
No,
Right. Okay. Then we're actually aligned with our the process I'm familiar with. So there's no money involved when it says receive incentive. You're only receiving preliminary approval to proceed.
correct. Yeah.
Okay. Not actually cash. Okay. Got it.
Yeah. While we're on that, the tax credit topic, any other questions about that?
I have more, but they would be an executive session.
So Brian, one question that I did bring up to you on September 30th, Bob Butler's not here, but what he did want me to ask was for December 1st, 2021, you have down Federal Home Loan Bank Boston Affordable Housing Program. Bob thought that meant Bank of America. Can you clarify that item?
Yeah, so Federal Home Loan Bank of Boston is a series of banks, and I don't know how many banks across the US there are, but there is a Federal Home Loan Bank in Boston that as part of their lending practices, they have to set aside a certain amount of money to go out for what they call the Affordable Housing Program. And every year, I think it's shifted to like July, August timeframe, you put your application in for a project, and then they notify you in December. And that milestone there is just letting us know that the FHLBB, the Federal Home Loan Bank of Boston, would be notifying us in December of any potential awards for their affordable housing program.
Very ironically, Bob Butler just showed up as you were answering that question.
Bob, did you hear any of that answer? I think he's on mute.
Have to unmute. Yeah, I did understand your answer. And I used to work for Bank of Boston way back in the day. And my understanding is a Bank of America bought the whole thing and sort of took the name out of circulation after they sold the assets in South America. So I was really surprised to see that the name was still around, and clearly it's still around. So.
Well, this is the Federal Home Loan Bank of Boston, so I'm not sure if it's I don't think it's the same entity.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think you're right. Sorry, I didn't mean to cause all that.
No.
About that question.
That was the easiest question of the day so far.
So if we are finished with reviewing or addressing questions to the milestones, am I correct that we should probably move into executive session? I don't know, because I have no idea what you all planned to discuss in executive session. So my question definitely goes to Bruce, since you were chair of the meeting at the last meeting, Bruce. If you can hear me, Bruce.
Yeah, hello, Bruce here. I don't think we had a lot to talk about in executive session last time. I'd have to defer to Max, but we had questions, get the milestones out, and waiting for those. And that was primarily it. Because we didn't have anything substantial to talk about. Questions revolved around the milestones.
Could I interject? I would like to discuss the indices of the housing tax credits and the pro forma. And since it goes into the pro forma, which I think so far we've said is not public, that would require executive session.
Yeah, that's correct, Freeman. That's correct. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So is there a motion to move into executive session?
Well, hold on. The last item that was on the agenda was if we wanted to talk about the public feedback so far and just if there was any feelings that anyone wanted to talk about the September 30th discussion night for Volunteers in America to the neighborhood. I don't know if that's something that we want to talk about or if we're skipping over that.
Well, we had citizen comments, correct? There are no other citizen comments?
I don't think she sees the new business.
Oh, no.
I don't think citizens even know about this. We've been talking to people all day. They have no idea this is going on even.
I posted on the town website.
Yes.
I might tell people whenever I have a
People
chance.
adjacent, are they supposed to get notifications when there are meetings regarding it?
For these meetings, no. They
No.
don't get a letter in the mail.
Oh, okay, because I can tell you that people we spoke to today had no idea, unfortunately, that, you know, they still thought it was going to be luxury condos there.
So this is Brian from Volunteers of America. But prior to our September 29th or 30th open house that we had for the community, we did send out every door direct mail to every business and house in Waldoboro, notifying them of that meeting.
September 30th, I think
That was last Wednesday.
I got no notification. I looked right.
I didn't get any notification. I mean, I knew about it, but I didn't get a notification.
I've just been checking the website. That I only had one letter for this, and that was probably the one
The
where
July 15th meeting.
yeah,
For pre-application.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only information I got. So no letters.
Bruce here a second. I got that flyer, and just from other campaigns that have gone out, sometimes just depending on the mailing list, everybody doesn't seem to get those. But a question to the citizen, because this is a quandary on how we get everybody, how do you get notice out when there's notices in the paper? And I mean this respectfully, just for your opinion. And, you know, I thought, oh boy, good, the flyer went out, so that's great, so everybody can go. And then you hear people didn't get it. So would you have any ideas on what else could be done?
I would definitely put something in the Lincoln County News, and you know, we speak to people when we're at our cafe. And today specifically, I said I was leaving work early to come to this meeting, and people still had no idea what was going on over there. And it directly affects them because they have businesses in the village. And, you know, you have to think what's going to help Waldoboro.
Max, wasn't it in the paper? I thought it was published in the Lincoln County a couple of times.
Are you talking about the September
Updates
30th
on what we're doing.
The September 30th meeting? Are you talking about the September 30th discussion night? Bruce?
No, just general updates and, you know, notices. I thought we were doing a pretty good job of getting that in the paper, reading it every Wednesday and
Call
Thursday.
my neighbors and let them know, because they might not have a computer to look on the website.
Alex, do an article on it.
Right, but we're not talking about.
I mean, just a general project.
But for general project, but
Yeah,
for
that
these
hasn't been in
meetings
the paper, yeah.
specifically, ads aren't put in the paper for just a regular
Right.
meeting like this. We do give out notices whenever there's certain big developments happening,
Yeah.
like the pre-application that happened in July. Volunteers of America did their notices for the September 30th discussion night. Now, one thing I did do was I had a sign-up sheet for anyone who did attend. And if they provided their email, I am sending them out emails whenever there's a big development. And one thing that I will include going forward now are these meetings, just to say, hey, these meetings are happening. You can always look them up on YouTube using the town of Waldoboro YouTube page.
But these aren't filmed, right?
These meetings are recorded.
Oh, these are recorded.
These meetings are
Okay.
recorded. That's actually live on YouTube right now.
Okay.
And they're on the
So
calendar.
everyone needs to watch your language.
That's what I left my husband at the job.
So after this meeting, I will be emailing out to all those people. I'll make sure you're on that list as well. Just to tell people there are meetings every first and third Tuesday at 3 p.m. You can come to the town office or you can participate via Zoom.
If you're working though, 3 p.m., I had to leave work to get here. I know.
I'm saying the recordings will also exist for people who
Okay.
can do that as well.
Are there any other citizen comments?
No.
No.
And so is there a motion to move into executive session, or do we continue with the agenda?
Are we not going to discuss the new business?
I guess that kind of takes it over unless you, Bob, Ben's not here. Unless you, Bob, or anyone from Volunteers of America wants to just give their thoughts about the meeting that happened last Wednesday, or discussion night that happened last Wednesday, or Vicki, if you want to give you watched it too, correct?
I was on Zoom, right?
If you want to give your opinion on it, well, that would probably be helpful.
About the meeting.
Right, just.
I mean, it just brought up a lot of questions to me. Like I said, it affects me personally just because I'm like right across the street. If you said it's 10 miles away, it'd be like, but I don't see how it really builds up Waldeboro, especially as a new business owner in town. Like, we just bought a house in November, and I can tell you I would not have bought the house had I known 35 units were going there. We moved from New York specifically into a quiet street. It's a historic street, and there's no way we would have bought. When we asked our realtor what's going there, they said it was condos, maybe like 9 units, and that's fine, maybe 9 units, but 32 units is just, that's not why we moved here. And when we moved here, we also bought a building in the village and started a business. And we feel like Waldeboro is headed in the right direction. The theater's got a lot of work put into it. The church is beautiful. There's less shops that are in the village that are empty right now. There's probably like only 1 or 2. And I just don't see how this is going to keep Waldeboro on the right track to entice other businesses to come here, maybe young people to come here. I'm not hearing anything in this that is good for Waldeboro. It's not in Waldeboro citizens that are going in there. So I have to wonder what this is business for Waldeboro. That's, there should be some incentive for us to be doing this. Except for, is it just saving AD Gray building?
It was certainly a very big part of the proposal that they were giving. I think, and other members can correct me if I'm wrong, but at least I think the last proposal would put 2 stories on top of the AD Gray building. A lot of people were concerned that it was going to be a practice. No?
Is that Max Johnson talking?
Yeah, can you not hear me?
No, I could not. Could you start again, please?
Can you hear me now? All right, well, I'll speak and hopefully you'll hear me. One thing that I know some neighbors were concerned about with the last project was privacy, because the last proposal included having 2 additional stories on top of AD Gray itself, and they didn't know how high that building was going to go. And I think in addition to that, there was also going to be senior housing where the tennis courts were. And then the third building was going to be something. No, we didn't even know at that point. He said it could have been residential, could have been commercial, but we didn't know what it was going to be.
Okay, that's understandable, passing on that.
So in terms of this one thing that again, I'll speak for myself and not for the subcommittee, and they can jump in if they have their different opinions on it. Because with Volunteers of America, they seem very open and honest about what they're doing.
I totally get that, yes.
And staying and preserving the school certainly is a part of it. All they want to do is just put an addition on the backside and a footprint that we already had a grade. So that was a big part, and they're willing to find the money and invest the millions to keep it up. And I think that was one big part of what a lot of people in town want, the AD Gray to still stand.
Okay, so basically you think the whole town wants that building to be saved?
I'm not saying the whole town, I'm saying a good chunk of people who have been saying what we should do with AD Gray. They don't want to tear it down. They don't want to see that building torn down. But if we don't have someone who can rehabilitate it, then it's not like we're going to keep that building up forever. Because it has to either have a use or we have to tear it down and sell the land as is. And
There's also a significant housing shortage in the mid-coast area,
Of course,
including Waldeboro,
of course.
and that's all it is.
and
And I'm not sure if who's going in there. I don't know that there's any stipulation that they're not Waldeboro people.
They said on the last meeting that there's no extra list for Waldeboro people. They could be in there, but there's no guarantee. They could be from anywhere.
Right, any house in Waldeboro, I could buy it or somebody from Utah could buy it. So,
Right.
right.
so I don't know that that's an issue.
I think the other part that I said last time, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong on it, is that you have sort of a wait list where if someone from Waldeboro doesn't want to get into that building, there's no room, you can put them up at Thomaston or the Thompson one. Once the room is available, you can move them in there, correct?
Yeah, Travis can speak to the wait list because he deals with this all the time. But yeah, that is something that we had talked about a little bit. You know, the people who want to live in the Waldeboro area and meet the criteria to live in this affordable senior housing complex are the ones who are going to apply. And generally, those are people from the area. And if someone's coming in, you know, maybe it's a parent or whatever, we don't have a spot, you know, maybe there's a potential they could fit into our Thomaston or our Belfast location until a spot opens up. I mean, there's possibilities, and this is why the location works out really well for us, because we do have access to, you know, other resources in the area where we could help people, you know, find a spot when they become available.
And I think, just one point, the Sproul Block is a different, houses a different group. That's more like a four-way or whatever. It's not simply senior housing. Yeah, that's a different, they have different criteria for that.
Was that Jan who just said that?
Yeah, Jane, you're gonna have to talk right. Probably take the mask off.
That, you know, that is a question I had, Brian, for your group is, you say it's elderly housing with income criteria, but how are you able to limit that? How can you possibly limit that without being discriminatory to people who are disabled, for example, who aren't in the elderly group, if you're getting federal funding?
So the federal funding, the criteria that we get for the funding drives who can go into these locations. And Matt, if you want to jump in here, or Travis, and you guys know these regs a lot better than I do, you may be able to answer that a little more clearly.
Yeah, there's actually a fair housing exclusion for designating senior housing. I mean, I'm sure you've seen all over the country, there's senior housing complexes in Florida. I know there's tons of gated communities that only allow 55 plus. And that's because there's actually an exclusion. You bring up a great point. Fair housing is an important law in our country. But actually senior housing is a designated exclusion.
Are you aware of any projects that have had to remove that, I guess, category and open up its housing to more than the group that you originally intended?
Based on marketability issues, I do not. Travis, do you? I mean, I know our state is only getting older, but
I thought I heard that some project in South Portland was having some issues with just this, that it was supposed to be limited to one particular section of society, and now is unable to be, and has had to open up to more group.
like I said, I don't know the specifics of that one, or I haven't heard of that.
We have Volunteers for America as a national organization has, I don't know, Brian, how many units of affordable housing do we have? We have a lot of this. We're the second largest provider nationally of this, and we haven't seen it happen for senior housing. So maybe it's a different situation than what we're talking about here.
And, you know, and there's so many things that could go. I don't know what project you're speaking about specifically in South Portland, but there's so many different ways to fund these projects. Maybe it was all private funding and they had an objective going into it, but they just couldn't meet those criteria based on several factors. And we don't know what those factors are. But with us, you know, if we sign a contract with HUD, you know, that contract's set in stone for the number of years. So it's not like it's going to change overnight.
Right. So is there anything else concerning the September 30th discussion night?
I'd like to hear Bob's impression and get his feedback on what he heard and saw.
Yeah, I thought it was a good meeting. There were a lot of questions. They were well answered, well addressed. Maybe one or two people had some not so positive things to say about it, but I'd say overwhelmingly the people who were there were very much predisposed to the project. And it's going to be on the ballot in November. I mean, we'll know how the town feels. They're going to vote on this. And that'll be a pretty good indication of where people stand regarding the project. I am personally in favor of it because it allows us to do something with an asset the town has had on the books for 12 years and done nothing with, or not been able to do anything with. The other project we'd considered was not accepted by the neighborhood. We had people from the neighborhood at this meeting and they were all, I think without exception, even predisposed, you know, they thought favorably of it. They felt their questions had been answered well and thoroughly. So let's find out what happens the first week in November.
I agree with Bob. It was a very good meeting, and I thought the atmosphere in the room was very positive.
So I guess my question then to Bob, because I was not able to attend that meeting, or obviously I couldn't see a video of it afterwards. But Bob, you've been and Jan too, you've been on the select board for quite some time. How do you think this is going to add to the town? I mean, obviously it's a vacant building, and so you're not going to have to deal with it anymore. But how is this town going to benefit from this? The current citizens financially, are we going to benefit from it? How do you see that happening? Is it going to bring jobs into? I mean, how many people are they going to hire? How much housing are you've already said that the residents, the citizens of Waldoboro are, you know, they might be on a wait list or whatever to get in, but not everybody might get in. It might be people from out of town instead, which is, you know, that's what happens. But how do you see this benefiting Waldoboro in any meaningful way?
Want to take a stab at that, Jan, or do you want me to go?
I'd like to hear from both of you.
Sure. I think giving people homes is a benefit, just a humanitarian thing. And because there is a need in this area, we are the oldest state and we are the oldest county in the oldest state. And so there's a market, certainly. And people need a home. The other thing it brings, if we're going to have people here, people will shop. They'll go downtown and buy cinnamon rolls, or they'll go into the drugstore. They'll go to Ham.
Fixed income, they're not.
I want a fixed income, and yeah, I shop in town. I'd rather not go outside of town. I'd rather stay in town. So, you know, I think I think just having people in town is a benefit. It brings in talents, brings in expertise. It brings in people who have lived long lives, something to offer to the community. We have a wonderful library within walking distance of there. I can see other kinds of programs, interesting programs going into our library as a result of more people. I could see we could have more people at the theater when that opens. I can't see anything negative about it. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I would agree with everything Jan has said. If you're looking for specific tax benefits to the town, that's a question that's up in the air. That's a matter of negotiation and discussion. But even if there were none at all, we wouldn't be any worse off with this project than we are now, because we're not getting any tax revenue from it either. And to talk about an opportunity cost, I think is irrelevant, because for 12 years, there has been no opportunity cost. There's been nothing in that building. There's been practically no interest in the building. The little interest that was shown by the Y wasn't supported by the town. And the project that was proposed last year wasn't acceptable. So yeah, I mean, we can spend another 10 years marketing the building. I think it's much better to go with what we have and see how the town feels about it. At the end of the day, the town voters are going to decide whether they want this or not. And I really think that's the best solution to the problem. They will have spoken, and hopefully if they say yes, we can move forward with this.
Well, I would not agree with you to say we would spend another 10 years marketing, when in fact the marketing of the property has been extremely poor, scanty. One advertisement in the Portland paper in the last 10 years, and that was it. That's hardly marketing the property. And we've had that discussion before. So I'm really not sure about that. I also look at it as it's the last open space that we have in our downtown area. I and a number of people are really in favor of just tearing the building down and having, we don't have a town common in Waldoboro. And we've got the baseball diamond, the tennis courts, and it would be nice to have a large open space, really. Either that or we have a subcommittee, I believe, and I have no idea the status of the subcommittee in terms of looking into marketing the balance of the property instead of the building. I'm kind of sorry that the select board didn't think of including the building in that, but they did not. So we'll have to see what people say in November.
Bruce here for a second, if you're done, Saran.
I am.
I'm looking at this from a pragmatic standpoint that, it's been 12 years, it's been debated. I view this vote in November as a referendum on, do you want some form of housing to go in there and, and keep the building and preserve the building, even if it's, neutral to revenue, it brings more people in. And if that motion is defeated, then I think it's a referendum to say, tear it down, make it an open space, make it the town common, because probably for as many people as just want a town common and have it cleaned up, you have this, nostalgia, and I'm saying it in a positive way that I can't appreciate because we only moved to town 15 years ago, but we can't keep doing this. And so if there's no majority of people that say, yep, let's put senior housing in there, not Section 8 housing or housing that's going to put a tax and add additional need for additional services over and above what the tax revenue will handle, then I think we have a way to go to say, fine, well, we'll spend the money and tear it down and market the whole parcel, or not market it, turn it into open space for a downtown, for a town center. But I think this is going to get us off the mark.
Yep.
I'm just going to add in that
You're muted, Saran.
Well, before Saran jumps in.
There we go.
There you
I said, thank you, Bruce. Because it is 4:00 and I know Terry said that she has a time constraint. Perhaps it would be good for us to move into executive session to talk about the pro forma net that, that Freeman had brought up and anything else that needs to come under executive session.
Would you like a motion, Saran?
I'm asking for one. I'm not going to put one forward.
I move that we go into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA Section 405.
Seconded.
Bruce seconds it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye.
All right,